Okay, so yesterday we changed scores to Z scores and then went to the formula sheet. This one already has it in a Z score. Okay, so I kind of always start like that because that's the mean in the middle there. So a Z score 1.2 and 2.4, and I'm trying to figure out the probability between them. That's what I'm going to get. Okay, so we got to look up Z score 1.22. So again, that chart is always where you are to the middle. Okay, so 1.20. So there's the 3849. 1.20. So 3849. Everybody's good with that one? So that is 3849. This percent in that zone. And then I'm going to look up 2.4. So 2.40 is 4918. Is that where you are in the chart? You're finding this same spot? And that would be that. So what did I say? 4918. Okay. So what do you have to do? You're going to have to take the yellow one on my page, subtract the pink one. So you're going to have to subtract the two to get the zone right there. Does that make sense? Because you had that, subtract this, will get you that, right? This whole minus that will get you that. Okay, so this one says negative 1.3. So I want to know the percent between those two numbers. Okay, so you're going to look up 1.3. Obviously this is negative 1.3, but that'll still give you the same area on, doesn't matter which side. 1.3. Find the number in your chart. There's the 1.3, there's the 1.8. Okay, so what would you have to do with those numbers? You have to add them, right? Okay, so this is what we did in grade 11. You want to have a recall of what we did? we did like this. We did, what's the distribution? The normal distribution, and then I went from negative 1.3 to 1.8. And when you're working with a distribution curve, what is the z-score right in the middle? What's the mean as a z-score? 0. What's the standard deviation on the normal? Standard deviations are going up by 1. So my answer is 86.73%. Look at that. So that's what we did in grade 11 applied. Get to do the calculator for it. Okay, given a normal curve, what score corresponds with the top 28%? Okay, so this time I have 28% above me, and I want to know what my score is. Okay, so here's my first question. What's the percent between me and the middle? What would you do to get that? Me to the middle. 50 minus the 28, right? Because this is all 50%. So 50 minus the 28. So there's 22%. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my table, and I'm going to be looking for something that has a 0.22 or close to it. So I'm not looking at a z-score of 0.22. I'm looking for these numbers over here to be percents. So where can I find a 0.22 or like the closest? Would this one be the closest? 0.2190? Right? This is pretty close. That's closer than that. Okay, so this one right here, 0.2190 is closest to 22. So what's the z-score? 0.58. So that's my z-score that I found. So guess what this is? This is just working backwards on that chart. So before we had the z-scores finding the percents, this is a percent finding the z-score. Okay, what score corresponds with the top and the bottom 10%? So that's what I'm doing. Okay, so what's the percent of me to the middle? 40%. So again, I'm going to look up on my table and I'm going to try to find something close to 0.4% as a 40%. I'm going to pick this one, 0.3997. That's the closest I can get to 0.4. So now I'm going to go z-score is what? 1.28. Do you see how I'm reading that? 1.2 across to 0.08, so 1.28. And then on this side would be negative. So you just kind of have to understand your position. Obviously this Z chart is only positive. So if you are below the mean, make sure you have a negative Z-score, right? Okay, last question. Okay, find the top 5%. So there's 5% above me. So that should mean what? There's 45% to the middle. So I'm going to go to my table and I'm going to try to find a 0.45 on my table. Okay, so I'm having a little problem here. I can see this one and this one are both the closest. They're both the same closeness, right? I'm going to go right in the middle of them. So what z-score would I do? 1.6, and then I'm going to go 4.5. Like I'm going to go to a third decimal place because I'm just going to cut that in middle. So 1.645 because it's right in the middle between a 4 and a 5. Okay, so that's my z-score. Okay, now we're going to put this back to that IQ thing that we were doing yesterday. So the IQ scores, the mean was 100 and the standard was 15. So on your formula sheet, we have the z-score formula. So now we're going to figure out what my score is going to be. This is my score, so we got to figure that out. Okay, so Z equals my score minus the mean over the standard. That's the formula I'm using from the sheet. Z-score. Z equals my score minus mean over standard. Can you times and then add 100, right? That's your algebra. Times and then add 100, okay? I'm going to do that at the same time if that's okay with you. Okay, so now we took percents to z-scores to actual scores, right? We can do all those things now. Okay, the last one. Top 70%. So that's kind of where I look like, because the mean would be there. So once you think about that, what's the percent from me to the middle? 20. Okay, because this is half is 50. So there's 20 in that zone. So you need to do a table, and you're going to look for something with closest to a 0.2 on the table. And didn't we just have that one? Where am I imagining? No. Okay, 0.2. Are we going to do an in-betweeny again? I'm getting this one and this one are pretty much closest, same-ish. Do you want to split that again? Z-score 0.525. I'm going to go right between that, because that and that are kind of the same distance away. So, is that good? 0.525. Okay, what am I missing about my Z value though? Has to be negative, and that's a common mistake because people use their chart, and in the chart's obviously just the numbers, forgetting that I'm negative because I'm below the average. Okay, so formula, Z equals my score, subtract mean over standard. So again, I'm going to do a times and then add 100 with my algebra. And if you forgot to do the negative, you should realize your answer is wrong because you would have got something over 100, which means you're above the average, which isn't true.